right, Miss Aurorah is back. You all know that it is Money Monday, and Miss Aurorah reads all of your emails. And thank you so much for emailing. Please continue to do so at info@aurorahdayconsulting.com. Today, Miss Aurorah has a very special treat for you. Many of you are emailing saying, Miss Aurorah, I am following all of these so-called gurus. I am doing my Facebook ads. I am doing my Google ads. I'm on all these. You're naming all of these platforms. Somebody told me about some Bing ads. I was like, does Bing still exist? You know what I'm saying? I hear what you all are saying. And so today we have the premier life coach, the seasoned premier life coach, Miss Peggy Alphonse. She is a facilitator of healing, and she is with us today to talk about why it is your money is blocked. Now, I want to let all of the secured entrepreneurs know, okay, that this is going to be a series because we want to address all of the questions that you are having as it relates to what's really going on with you spiritually that is affecting you on an external level, right, Shiny Peggy? So for those of you who do not know, I am Miss Aurorah Dey, and this is the Secured Entrepreneur Movement. I want to introduce Shiny Peggy. I know her as Shiny Peggy. She is my life coach, okay? So I want Shiny Peggy to tell everyone a little bit about who she is and how it is that she helps the entrepreneur to overcome their money blocks, leading them to their ultimate desired success.
Wow, what an intro. Amazing, amazing. Yes, my name is Peggy Alphonse, and I identify myself as a facilitator of healing, a facilitator of mindset changes, because ultimately it is you who makes the decision as to what changes you are willing to accept and how far you are willing to go. As far as how I will help you facilitate these changes, what I'm working on right now is mainly energy work. Energetic work. So what that entails is being able to identify what the blocks actually are and release that energy. And even though for some people it doesn't really make sense, or there's no identifiable connection between energy and your money, or energy or the different moves you're making in life, everything actually is in fact about your energy, how freely the energy is flowing, as well as the quality of that energy. There can be energy that is related to an energy of fear, energies of apprehension, also energy of action, energy of excitement. So when you're able to identify what energy you're moving in, when you're able to see what's actually not happening, those are going to be the indications of where you are, what those blocks are. And my role is to help you release those blocks so that you can attain your goals.
I love it. So I want you to share with the secured entrepreneurs some of the things that you know are blocking them from their financial goals, blocking them from their money.
Okay, so this is where we are going to go to a little visual aid that I have.
All right.
Here we go. So as an entrepreneur, or even anyone who is working within an organization, but I believe that these talks are geared towards the entrepreneurs, it should be obvious for many people, it is very obvious that as an entrepreneur, the thing that you're really shooting for is success. And we all have our definition of what success means to us. But what we're going to be doing is really talking about success as it comes to money. So you may ask yourself, okay, well, why would someone be afraid of success? Because it actually seems counterintuitive, but that's actually very real. Regardless of what path we are walking down, there are people who are truly afraid of succeeding. And one of the more common reasons has to do with being kicked out of the tribe. And what's really fascinating about this is it's so reflexive. It's very, an old way of not even thinking, because this is something that's happening on the subconscious level. So if you can think about what it was like for humans at the beginning of our time of conscious existence here, we were really tribal creatures who depended on one another for our very survival. So that's what the original tribe is. There were the hunters, there were the gatherers, there were the people who, even when we're talking about the hunters or the men who went out in the front to fight the dinosaur, fight the tiger, and bring the food back to the rest of the tribe. So in these times, our tribe could be your family, your social circle, even there's some tribal energy around ethnicity. So when we were in the tribes back in those days, if you were somehow exiled from the tribe, if you had some type of illness, for example, that was not understood, it could be viewed as a threatening thing for the survival of the tribe. The main idea about being part of the tribe is actually to have commonalities. So when you identify as a tribal member with your family or whatever the group is, and you're now doing something that is different or can be perceived as different, there is this underlying fear that you will somehow be exiled. And it's not something that we're naturally conscious of, but it's very innate in our very nature as these animals, as these beings. Number 2 is self-perception. Many of us don't really think about how we perceive ourselves on a conscious level. It's not something that many people really spend too much time even focusing on. For a lot of people, you just have this personality or an identity, and other people inform you of how they perceive you. You don't necessarily spend too much time thinking about it. But again, it's a role that is being acted out on the subconscious level. You may not admit to someone that you think you're not worthy, for example, of experiencing tremendous success. You may not really think of yourself as, trigger warning, you may not think of yourself as a loser, someone who is lazy, all like negative adjectives. You may not think of yourself that way consciously. If someone were to say to you, how do you perceive yourself? You would say, I'm a real go-getter. I am a business person. I want to be successful, all of these things. But on the subconscious level, the real you or the real perception of you is existing. So if the real version of you, what you believe to be the real version of you, is someone who only is able to make a certain amount of money, is someone who only associates with complainers or people who are teachers, people who work in education, people who do not, whatever the 9 to 5 is. If your perception is of a particular form or structure, when you begin to say, I'm going to strike out on my own, I'm going to have my own business, imagine the disconnect or the disparity between who you really believe you are and this person you want to now become. And it can even boil down to who you run with, who you'll now be running with. These are people who spend differently than how you spend. People who are really successful don't think like the average person. Right. So even though you have this idea of who you want to be and what it may entail, the disconnect between who you really are and that perception of yourself is so separated, so vast, you will begin to sabotage yourself. You will feel like there's a threat in this new version of you. And finally, what I would say about why there's a fear of success has to do with the fear of the unknown. Mm-hmm. And that also goes back to a very primitive part of the way our brains function. The brain, this is not that interesting to some people. To me, it's fascinating. So the way that our human brains have evolved, hopefully, but more than likely, most of us are really working with that prefrontal cortex with the upper part of the brain. But what's happening with fear of the unknown has to do with that primitive brain, that older part of our brain, which is responsible for keeping you alive. The primary goal of human existence is self-preservation, to remain alive. So that means what is going to keep me safe is what I know. That's why you'll see that there are some people out there who, never leave a city block, who never leave their town. They never go out of the country. They don't want to associate with people who are not familiar. And the reason being, striking out on your own, going to the other side of the mountain, going to that other island, whatever the case may be. It could have literally meant your life or death.
Right.
Okay. So because that's part of us, that is part of being a human, is safety equals life. When you strike out and say, I'm going to work on my own, I'm going to learn how to market, I'm going to learn advertising, I'm going to learn bookkeeping, I'm going to learn tax codes, I'm going to learn how to do sales calls, whatever it is that is included with this new version of yourself in being this successful entrepreneur, it's all unfamiliar more than likely, especially if you're the kind of person who's now stepped out of your tribe. You don't have models of what success can mean in that aspect. Everything is scary. Even if you don't want to admit it to yourself, there's so many things that are, excuse the little jingling sounds out there. Those are the sounds of the dogs playing around. But when you go off and begin to take the steps to become this successful entrepreneur, there's so much that is unknown, and you can't know. You can't know because you've not been there before. And for a lot of people, it's going to keep you stuck. That fear, no matter how subconscious it may be, is going to keep you stuck so that you begin to sabotage yourself, or you just have that fear so that the moves you make perhaps are not as bold as they could be. You play it safe perhaps more than you should because that fear is there.
Mm-hmm. I want to go back on the second note that you have here, because you're saying how you spend your time. Okay.
Yes.
So your self-perception doesn't align with the successful version of yourself. So if you know people who waste a lot of time, right? You then become a time waster as well. Yes. Because you're with these people who also don't view themselves as successful, who also don't view themselves as going anywhere, starting anything, doing anything other than what they are currently doing. But these are people who will continue to say they want something better in life. They want to go someplace. They want to do all these things, don't know how to get there, but they don't know how to utilize time wisely enough to get on the path. Okay, so maybe if in fact I'm saying I want X, Y, and Z, now I need to start studying. I need to start figuring out what my next logical step is. Okay, and something that you said earlier before we started this video is that some people need direction, right?
Yes.
They need to map out a clear path and map out a clear endeavor. What is the endeavor? What is the goal here? And I think that because there's a lack of clarity, okay? And so that's where you come in to help the entrepreneur gain that clarity so that they can get on the path to removing the block, that the block that's blocking their money.
Yes. Yes. That's something that we talked about. What I mentioned in one of my services, one of the first sessions that I would offer someone, if they were so inclined, is around setting a true goal. The idea being, you have a target on the other side of the room, and you're just throwing darts and throwing darts and throwing darts. If you don't know, I want to hit that bullseye, and you're just throwing darts and throwing darts, it's like throwing darts in the dark. You may luck up and hit that target, but most likely you are not. So when you're able to really identify, this is what I want, this is what I want, and you're able to clear away, all of the clouds, the self-doubt. Sometimes it's self-sabotage. Oftentimes, when you're stepping outside of the tribe, there are people around you who, intentional or not, do look to sabotage. So being able to really identify, this is where I'm going, this is my target, this is my goal, is so important. And also with the clearing of the clouds are the blockages. The clouds is that energy of confusion. I want to have a business, but I don't know what I want to do. I want to expand my audience. I don't know how. There's so many things where the answers are there. The answers are right there, but we can't see. And specifically speaking about energy, your energy promotes confusion. Mm-hmm. The energy is blocking the information from coming to you.
Right. Now, this is where it's about to get juicy, okay? Because what a lot of entrepreneurs do not know is that they have some belief systems running in the background that are actually preventing them from prospering in their own business. So I want Peggy to talk to us about these beliefs about money that are truly impacting your business.
Yes. So it's really fascinating how our minds work. A little bit earlier, we were talking about subconscious beliefs and the reflex to want to protect yourself, the reflex to want to be safe. So when we get into the beliefs about money and how they impact your business, what I want to first say is it's okay if you recognize yourself in any one or more of the following beliefs. It's just a mechanism your mind is using to keep you safe, number one. Number two, it's definitely possible to blow out this belief system, these belief systems, and superimpose positive belief systems so that you can really move towards your goal. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is not charging for your work or undercharging. Would it be fair to say that when people are just starting out, maybe they're looking at what the market can bear, or what I really find a lot is people bartering. I have this service or good, you have that service or good. We're going to swap, as opposed to just putting a stake in the ground and saying, this is what I do, and this is how much money I'm charging. And the reason this is so fascinating, especially when it pertains to entrepreneurs, is it's not so much that you're selling a service or good. When you are the face of your business, you're selling yourself. What you're doing is selling yourself. So even if person B has cogs that they're selling for 25 cents, there's actually little to no reason why you can't come out and say, you know what, my cogs are the best. I have a superior cog than person B, even though they may look different, the quality in which I make it, the way that I can sell it, I'm going to come out here and sell my cogs for 40 cents. And what you will find is, as long as your belief system is in line, your energy is right, and people are able to really resonate with you, you're going to begin to sell. You're going to begin to sell. So what you believe about yourself, what you believe about your business and the quality of your goods really dictates how much you're willing to charge for those goods and services. But when the belief system is that, and really it's a belief system about yourself, that you are not worthy, that you are not deserving, you might have the best thing since sliced bread on your hands. But because of the belief in yourself, you're undercharging for that thing, or not charging at all in some cases. The next is keeping your finances vague, avoiding looking at bank statements, financial documents, and not wanting to really manage the money. And the belief system there is, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not capable of learning. It's too much for me to manage all the money. Again, it's a reflection on what that individual believes about themselves. And, you know, it probably does go without saying, but you have to mind your money. You need to mind your money. It's like growing a garden. It's like growing a garden. The more love and attention you give to those finances, that's when you can see the finances begin to flourish. But it's an act of self-sabotage to not really keep up with what's happening inside of your money. And the interesting thing, the most paramount thing about being this entrepreneur is ultimately all the responsibility does lie with you. So that when you are not keeping up with those finances, it's not getting done, or it leaves room for problems. If there is someone else involved with that financial endeavor, it creates room for, you know, destruction, and that someone else can come in and begin to mess with your money, which nobody wants. Holding negative beliefs such as making money is hard. And for some people, that's going to be counterintuitive, because I think that in this society, there is a belief system that's propagated that no, you have to work hard for money. And even the languaging around working hard for money, what I would say is when you choose a business that you want to work on and get off the ground, in my opinion, the business should be aligned with you and your value systems. It ideally is going to be something that lights you up, something that brings you pleasure, something that you actually like, better yet, love.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that when you find something that you love to do, you're never going to work a day in your life. So
Right.
you might be working 23 and a half hours a day, but because it's yours, because you love it, it doesn't feel like it's hard. It's counterintuitive, but it doesn't feel like it's hard. Like when I'm working with people, when I'm doing coaching with people or healing work with people, it's like, where did the time go? Where did the time go? It instead of being energy depleting, it gives me energy because this is something that I actually love. So when you frame it like that, this is something that I love to do. I'm actually helping people. My product or good is of value, it's of service. When you think of it that way and you begin to put your energy into it, why can't the money be easy? Why can't the money come flowing in? There's actually no reason. But again, that's a belief system. That's like a paradigm shift. But when you have the negative, yes.
I was going to say, Boyce Watkins made a statement recently that just to even think that making money is hard is a part of a slave mentality.
Mm.
that you have to now perform this hard, painstaking manual labor to get money when the actual opposite is now true for people in our generation and the generation coming up under us. Whereas in the past, our ancestors was they were hand to mouth. Now we are mouth to hand. We can speak, we can come up, we can really serve the masses internationally via the internet, and we've got money in our hands, So this belief that making money is hard, that is something that is embedded way back, your grandmother, your great grandmother, your grandfather, your great grandfather, you know what I'm saying? Your parents, most of our parents who are still living, who are in their 70s, late 60s, early 70s, early 80s, who had a strong work ethic. Okay. If you do not work, you do not eat. Now it's if you do not sell something, okay, you're not going to flourish. You've got to sell something, or, like, for lack of a better word, die, because you're not, everything is about sales.
Yeah.
That's just the way that it is. And I want to go back on what is that? What is the first one? Go back, please. Let's see. Okay, not charging for your work or undercharging. The thing that really hit me there is when I'm working with entrepreneurs, I'm noticing that they have a fear around the charge because they don't know that there are people with a whole lot of money in the world. They think that because they don't have as much money as they would like to have, then other people don't have it either.
Yes.
Because they've not gotten next to people who make this kind of money every day. The monies that they're accustomed to making in a year, there are people who make that in an hour in a day. And because they've never experienced it themselves, and they're not moving in the circles with people who do, that's a mind bump. Okay, that's a mind bump. Like, you mean to tell me if I wanted to charge somebody $3,500, they're going to be able to afford it? Yes, all day, every day, twice on Sunday. Okay, so I think that's part of what you do, which is what you call recoding, and I love that. But we're going to get into that. Go on, Peggy. Go on.
Yeah, what I was thinking of when it comes to a slave mentality, it's very real. Mm-hmm. And if we focus on, there's been slavery on every continent, but specifically as it pertains to Blacks in this country, yes, the history is there. So there's a model of, being told generation to generation, you have to work hard, and you can take that back on the crops, the plantations, where literally they were working slaving away for their survival. So,
Yeah.
so there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
But what it made me think of was epigenetics is an emerging field. And the way you can think about, the way I think about epigenetics is, if our genes are hardware, the epigenetics is the software, where people say that, your genes cannot change. What the epigenetics is doing is your genes are actually somewhat changing based on the experiences of your forefathers. So in that generational line of Blacks, where there was trauma, there was struggle, there was fear, that energy is being expressed in their descendants' genes. So it's not crazy to think that it's hard for some Black people to really get away from, I have to work hard, I have to struggle. There's so many people who, if you were to ask them, they would tell you, no, I don't like to struggle. I want the easy life. But their behavior suggests otherwise. And, for me, there's some compassion that must be held there, because a lot of the stuff is outside of your consciousness. You're not even aware that you're choosing the life of struggle.
Right.
And it's actually being expressed in those genes. And the recoding or superconscious transformational method, but the recoding of the memories, the recoding related to those epigenetics, that's what's being addressed in that modality. That's what's being addressed in that treatment. It is looking at the events from your past, your familial events off into the future. That's what's happening when you undertake this particular modality, is that energy is being cleared away layer by layer. And what's so fascinating is that even though some things that are holding you back are likely not on a conscious level, if someone were to just, approach you on the street and ask you something about your belief system around money, you're going to say one thing, but your bank account, your behaviors day to day, that's telling the real story. That's what telling the real story. So even though there's that struggle that is so common to many of us, there's that just a disappointment of trying different things and having it not to work out for you. It's not always necessarily something that is within your control, in that you may not be aware of this is what you're acting out. But it is in your control, because there's a remedy, there's a solution, there's help for that. And it's incumbent upon the person to seek help, to do things, because striking out and doing your own business, that is new and exciting and scary all at once. So you're going to be doing things that you never were aware of, you never thought you would do it. And I would say, if you're working or spinning your wheels, that's another symptom. But if you're spinning your wheels, if you're not really getting to where you want to get to, look outside of the box and try whatever you need to do to get to that goal. Identify the goal and then do whatever you need to do to get there.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
So another belief system around money is worry about what other people, or how other people judge you for having or not having money.
Oh, this is huge. This is a huge one.
So again, it's encompassing a couple of different things. One is that feeling of wanting to still be part of the tribe, wanting to feel safe and comfortable within this particular group of people. But imagine what it feels like to be the person people call when they need something, when they want something. You have any money? Let me hold $20. Let me hold $20. So it could be that there's a judgment around having too much. If you have too much money, if you're too successful, are relatives going to come out of the woodwork? Are people going to come and try to pin babies on you that you never met the lady, but all of a sudden you have 3 kids with them? There's so many things that happen when we've seen it though, when people have too much money or a lot of money. So the judgment might be that's a mark. That's an easy target. This person now becomes prey. And it could be conscious. It could be something that people discuss. It's on a conscious level. People realize, this is one of the pitfalls, even though there's some validity to it. This is one of the pitfalls of being very successful. This is what happens when people are uber successful. But even then, just because someone, makes an attempt at something or whatever doesn't mean that they're going to be successful. Or it could be that that's something that never ever happens to you, but that worry in the back of your mind can be enough to begin to self-sabotage. And the worry, yes.
What's really what really gets me about that is what people are failing to understand, that what's very true about it. That's where I'm going with this. What's very true about it is when you become successful, some people have a tendency to stay around the same people, right? Who don't want to go where you're going, and they hope you die before you get there, right? The first thing that they say is that you're greedy, you're being greedy, or you're money hungry. Mm-hmm. They never view you as a businesswoman, a businessman. They're never gonna see you in that light. Okay, so if you don't really find a way to see yourself differently and remove yourself from that circle, then yes, you're gonna worry about what other people are saying and feeling judged by other people because of how they're really. It's the green-eyed devil that comes out of people. That's what happens. It's the green-eyed devil, and they're saying all sorts of things, and that's the cue to exit stage left.
Agreed. But then there are going to be some people who find it difficult to do so, because they don't want to be told that they're money hungry. They don't want to be told, especially with some so-called religious people. They say money is the root of all evil, but the love of money is the root of all evil. So there are going to be some people who, rather than be viewed that way, rather than to be judged as greedy, selfish, and whatever else people might want to say, or you think you're better than us, there are going to be people who say, I would rather be uncomfortable in this position than to put myself in the line of fire with those kinds of critiques or judgments. Mm-hmm. It's real.
Very real.
Never saving or investing. And I think this falls under, the self-perceptions. Mm-hmm. It's a belief for someone who has a skewed self-perception that, there's no reason to save. I want to live for YOLO. I want to live for today. Investing, that's for people who are not me.
Right.
That's for other people. You should have millions of dollars to really be investing, or only a particular ethnic group invest the money, or, investing my money is like putting the money in the toilet. There are different belief systems that people hold that actually are in the way of building their wealth. Mm-hmm. Constantly having difficulties getting clear about the work you want to do.
Oh, this is a big one. Yes. This is a big one. This is a big one. And I want to say something before you even get into this, because I can't tell the secured entrepreneurs how many times I have had to redirect people who come and say, I want to do this, and then this, and then this. And I set this up. I said, okay, which one is working? Neither one of them. Okay. They've got all these ideas, and they have this little map of, okay, which one is earning any money right now? Is there any one of these earning any money? No. They're not clear about the work they want to do.
Yes. And that could just boil down to the underlying beliefs. The underlying beliefs that have the energy of self-sabotage are actually clouding one's thinking. So we have some energetic blocks because all of us, all humans, even animals too, probably to some extent, but all humans, all of us have access to the higher realm of consciousness, to the field of energy that holds all the information. All of us who were born with the capability to get up and say, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm gonna start my own business. If you have that ability to get up and say these things, you have access to all the ideas, all the clarity, but it's those blocks. It's the blocks that have self-sabotage, fear of being exiled from the tribe, fear of judgment. It's that energy that really fosters that confusion, so that you don't see the clear path, or you don't believe that you can execute the different steps down that path. So when you are operating in so much confusion doesn't beget money. Confusion doesn't beget money.
Correct.
Well, this is something for people who already are experiencing some degree of success in their business, so much so that they have some staff with them. So a belief system, not letting go of staff that are no longer serving you or your business. That's supposed to be two. So now imagine you have a fantastic business plan. The money is coming in and there's someone there who's sabotaging you and your business. That person is no longer a match for the business and where you want to go. Why would it be that that person is still in the business? Why would it be that the boss, the entrepreneur, still chooses to keep that person on the payroll, still keeps them around? Why would that be? A couple of different reasons I can think of. One of them being a fear of how they're going to be perceived.
Right.
If I'm successful and I choose to get rid of you, I'm leaving people behind. That's a big thing for so many people. Like the first person that comes to mind is the MC Hammer story. How Hammer was just on top of the world, but that feeling like I can't leave people behind. What will they think of me? Wouldn't it be fair? That's self-sabotage. That's self-sabotage. When you have people who are still in your atmosphere and they're no longer contributing, and you choose to not let them go, that is a definite way to not continue to prosper, to not continue to flourish with your money. And again, I feel like the belief system is, I don't want to be judged. Maybe, a lot of times it's people who are like you or have a similar energy to you. So maybe the person reminds you of a friend from high school, or that's just like, or that might be your actual friend from high school, your actual brother or sister or family member that you don't want to let go for fear of being perceived a particular way. And procrastinating, self-sabotage, not getting into action.
Not getting into action. You're watching Netflix, Hulu. You're on some app on your phone, and the phone is expensive. And then the whole day has gone by. You haven't done any type of income-producing activities.
So it's just that. It's just that. It ties into that fear of success. Who will I be? Who would I be if I match the image that I dream of, if I match the person that I perceive myself to be, or the person I dream of being? So if every part of you is actually not aligned, that's what's really interesting. If every part of your personality is not in line with that true goal, if we're not all marching in the same direction, chaos must ensue. And even then, there's some compassion to be held, because the procrastination and self-sabotage, those are dysfunctional ways of trying to keep yourself safe. Because again, when you're going off doing this thing that is so new, making more money than you've ever made before, anyone that you know, making more money than anyone you even know has made before. It's scary, even if people don't want to come to terms with that. If you are just starting out, if you've not reached the levels you want to reach, there is a part of you that is going to be scared. So these are just ways that you're trying to cope with the action steps. You're trying to cope with your own progression. Waiting for someone or something to save you.
Oh.
Yeah. So again, that's related to a self-perception. That's related to a belief that you hold about yourself. There's the spirit of, I can't do it. Or really it's I can't do it, but so to clean it up, you might say, I can't do it on my own.
Right, I can't do it by myself.
I can't do it by myself. When the reality is none of us can do anything alone.
Right.
That's a real statement. No man is an island. No man is an island. But the idea of waiting for someone or something to come and save you, imagine other people are focused on what they have going on. Mm-hmm. Other people are working on how they can progress, how they can get more money. So it's actually like a cop-out. It's a cop-out, and it's also a self-sabotaging mechanism to wait around to help you make money. So while you're waiting, money's not being made.
Right.
Okay. Frequently cave in and don't ask for what you want. Now, when it comes to an entrepreneur, you, first of all, the clarity is so important, but you're the captain of that ship. You're the captain of the ship. So you need to know what's needed for you in that business and be able to use your voice and ask for it. And the way that this belief system takes root is if there have been other things in the past that have kind of shown you that it's not, again, it all boils down to safety, that have not shown you that it's not safe to speak up. It's not safe to hold ground. There's something that is still very uncomfortable for you. And that would be the reason why you're not speaking up and you're not holding those boundaries firm. Mm-hmm. And another barrier to not making as much money as you would like is constantly working, but never having enough money. And when you are constantly working, but you're not really reaping the results, it has to do with what I started to say was it for people who are interested in energy work and the chakra system, that is what we know to be that second chakra that has to do with what you believe you deserve.
Yeah.
So if you have an underlying belief that I actually don't deserve the accolades, the success, the money, you'll find that, you're spinning your wheels. There's a lot of energy, mental energy, physical energy that's being exerted, but you're not getting that return on your investment. So that could look like taking a lot of action steps that are actually not in line with what you say is that goal. You want to have 100 new clients. You have a fiscal goal of $1 million, but the things that you're doing with your time aren't aligned with what needs to happen to make that money to get that new client base. So it could be self-sabotage activities and or avoidance activities, because what's happening is there's a part of you that's not on board. Right. There's a part of you that doesn't believe that you deserve it, can't handle it, all these things, but you're not completely aligned with that end goal of making the money.
And I want to say, this is the part. You say that you're working, but you're not doing anything productive. Like people say, I'm busy. But no, you're really not. You're really not. You're really not. You're really not helping yourself. You're not helping your business. You're not really, once again, doing any type of income producing activities. Okay. And again, the whole day now has gone by, and tomorrow there will be no money. There will be no emails for you saying, you got to sell. Okay. But you were working. Okay.
Yes. And there are people who work for themselves or work in an organization. When you notice that you spend everything you make, even when you are making good money, that's an indication that you're misaligned.
Yes.
There's a part of you that continues to sabotage, because it seems like if you make $250,000, but you spend $250,000, maybe 200,000, but you spend $250,000, you might think, you know what? I need more than $250,000 to really enjoy my life, to really support the employees, my family, and everything. But then if you see that you have exceeded your goal, now you're making $500,000, but you're spending $500,000, you know that the money itself is not the problem. The problem is your belief system as it pertains to money. And it could be, I don't know what to do with money, so I'm just going to blow it. I don't want people to come and ask me for money. I don't know how to make my money grow. Whatever the situation is, there's some self-sabotage happening there that's preventing you from really growing. And there's some psychological belief system at work there that can be uncovered and healed so that you're not engaging in this kind of behavior. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And we kind of alluded to this one before. You decide in advance whether someone can pay you or not.
Yeah.
So that goes back to the cogs. Mm-hmm. How can it be that people have, they say there's nothing new under the sun. Mm-hmm. How can it be that there's so many businesses where they're providing a service, they're providing a good. And to many of us, it looks like the same thing. It looks like the same product, but person over here is charging 10 times more than what you're charging. And their calendars are full. They got a waiting list to come get the service or good. How can that be? Some people have a block about not only how much money, really boils down to the block of how much they can receive. I'm poor in spirit. I'm poor in mentality. I don't deserve a lot. So there are people who project that onto the world. Just because I don't have it, there's so many people who don't have it. Cannot be. It cannot be, because the evidence is showing us that that's not true. So it's a block that the individual has that's really preventing them from capturing all the dollars. And we want to capture all the dollars. So it's a belief system inside of them.
All in together now. How you like the weather now?
Once I have enough money, I'll finally feel secure. Yeah. And again, there's a lot to be said for the way you treat your business is a direct reflection of how you're perceiving yourself. There are people who feel like the money represents security. And let me say this, to an extent that is real, because for many of us, living in this society, in the Western world, you need to keep a roof over your head.
Right.
Your children want to have clothes on their back and food in their bellies. They want to go to school. There's insurance to be paid. We need money. Okay. We need money. And so the money does represent security. But the thing is, on an emotional level and psychological level, if you're coming to the business to solve the problem that you're not secure, the money can never be enough. Right. The client base can never be enough. Right. The accolades and success can never be enough, because it's something inside of you. It's a feeling inside of you. And that recoding is just the thing that helps to reprogram and reorganize the experiences that led up to this particular belief system. So it could be, you're always hungry in that business. You always want more, but when you get more, it's not enough. It's a direct indication that it's not about the money. It's not about the business. It's about the business owner. It's about you, the entrepreneur.
Yes.
Yeah. Now this is more so for, I don't want to make that judgment, but I do see a lot of this in people who are very spiritual.
Yes.
Some people who are very spiritual will tell you, I'm not interested in money. Lies, and more lies. The reason some people are going to say they're not interested in money is because there's a belief that they can't make the money. They can't handle the money. They don't deserve the money. So it's a defense mechanism rather than face. It's a hard pill to swallow. I can't make money. I don't deserve money. That's cold. That's really cold. So rather than face those kinds of fears and emotions, people will say, I'm not interested in money. But guess what? When you have a business and your core belief system, what you really believe is, I'm not interested in money. And again, these are going to be things that many people would never say to you because they don't realize that's what's happening internally.
Right.
But the energy of I'm not interested in money is vendors aren't being paid on time. Employees can't be paid on time. There's not extra money for bonuses. You're living hand to mouth. The business cannot flourish because there's a belief there that I'm not really interested in money, AKA I can't handle the money. There's a lot happening there. But when the business part of the business is in disarray, there's some underlying belief there. And again, self-sabotage.
The other thing that I know to be true about this one, as it relates to the spiritual practitioner, is that they have already been conditioned inside of religion, where they don't really understand the business of a church, because the church is business. The church is Circe, okay? The church is business, right? But because they've not been privy to that side, they understand that everybody volunteers because they haven't really they haven't really come to terms with the usury that goes on inside of the church. Okay. So you've got this church where the minister, the pastor, everybody on the board is collecting a check. Okay, they're flying in jets, they're taking stretch limos. Okay, their children go to the best schools, they're not worried about how their bills are paid, they're wearing every name brand label you can think of. Okay, and everywhere they go they're being paid. Okay, they're collecting money every time they stand up and talk. Whatever church they stand up and talk in, that church has now collected money for the minister, the minister's team, all of that. Meanwhile, these particular practitioners have been the volunteers who don't get anything but the opportunity to serve.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
now, since you've been conditioned to think like that, and you've not been taught how to work the business, you're lost. You're lost. You are really in the dark. Meanwhile, you are starving. You cannot pay your bills. You don't you know you cannot really help people spiritually now because you are spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and financially drained. Okay, so there's a whole teaching around even this statement, I'm not interested in money, and then they use like you said the scripture, oh, money is the root of all evil. And I wish they would go back and get the original scripture. Okay, to counteract just that whole thought process. Okay. So I like what you're sharing today with the secured entrepreneurs, Peggy. And we want to, this is part one. So the secured entrepreneurs are aware. This is part one. This is what we're discussing here. Why you're being prevented from bringing in all of the monies that you desire to bring in from your business, right? So what Miss Aurorah and Miss Peggy would like for you all to do is go back, replay the video, write down what are some of these things. If can you is any of this you? Is any of this you? Okay. Uh, and if there's other things that you know that you have thought that we have not addressed in this segment of the series, okay, write that down. All right. And you know that you can write these things in this thread under the video here on YouTube. Okay. And also, you can email Miss Aurorah because as when we come back, Peggy is going to address how now you're going to recode yourself from all of these negative beliefs and thought processes, these negative belief systems that are keeping you stuck and keeping you separated from your money. So now I want Peggy to let the secured entrepreneurs know how they can connect with her. Go on, Peggy.
Well, I too am here on YouTube. My channel is Say Yes to You. You can also find me on Facebook at, what is my Facebook thing? What's my Facebook thing called?
Say yes to you.
Say Yes to You with Coach Peggy Lynn. That's what it is.
Yes.
Say Yes to You with Coach Peggy Lynn, or find me on Instagram at Say Yes to You _now.
Yes, say yes to you _now. I love that. Okay. So I want to thank all of the secured entrepreneurs for chiming in with us today. This is it's already juicy. Okay. And I want to thank Peggy for joining us. And we're going to come back with part two to now give you the remedies. You all know that you can find Miss Aurorah at AurorahDayConsulting.com. And until next time, ta-ta.